Thank you all for coming. A little bit about me. I am a former Cal State LA student. I guess, a current alumni of the university. And I was a former president of ASME. So basically, I precursed Abby. Um, little bit about me. Like right now, currently, I am a mechanical engineer for Clear Blue Sea. So what I do for that company is it's essentially simulations. So basically, I'm creating the simulation environment used for all software development and mission planning. That includes adding all the physics or physical mechanics, including buoyancy, hydrodynamics, thrust, force, inertia, etc. On top of that, I also simulate sensor data. So basically, I'm also doing things like simulating IMU, GPS, 3D camera, things like that. So in today's presentation, I'm going to go ahead and go over on how to build a resume. In addition to that, I will kind of talk about the job market to kind of like chime in on it. And on top of that, I'm going to kind of go over on how to network. So to chime in on the job market, this is kind of to like prepare you guys for the job market, not to essentially like make you guys afraid or nervous, but more so to give you information. So what I have here is essentially the numbers of the new jobs created between 2022 and 2023 in the months of July, August, September, and October. As you can see, between July 2022 and 2023, it was a difference of -60. So the number of new jobs dropped by 67%. In August, it dropped by 40%. And in the month of September, it actually went up by 22%. Now we're in the month of October. However, the numbers are still not in yet. It'll be in by next month or by the end of this month. Resume. So regarding the resume, I'm going to go over like 5 key components. One is general template. The other is using STAR method or XYZ method, which I'll go over both. Catering resume to desired industry, which is very important. Catering resume to desired job, as well as resources you could use. Okay, when it comes to the general template resume, it should consist of name and info, education, skills, experience, and projects. So what I have here is skills on the top. Most people would agree to put skills at the bottom. It's just for me personally, I don't like doing it that way, so I have mine at the top. However, when you make your resume, probably consider putting all the skills at the bottom. And number 2, it says technical skills. That was an error on my part. Do not put technical skills. It's just skills. Number 2, no icons or images. You do not. So I mean, that's kind of straightforward. Don't add images. Don't add icons. That kind of stuff to your resume. Clear section separation. So what I did on my resume is essentially I have lines. So I see. So there's education line, technical or skills line, so on and so forth. That kind of shows clear separation of sections. However, you could do it any way that you want. You want bullet points, not paragraphs. So do not like just keep it within like 1 line or 2. No, obviously, no more than 2 lines. But again, don't do 2 full lines. Like basically 1 full line, then a little bit after should be fine. Comma, skills separated. So as you can see here, it says SolidWorks, comma, NX Siemens, comma, so on and so forth. And last but not least, clear font and font size. So don't use any sort of font like Comic Sans or anything. Use professional fonts like Times New Roman is a good one. I will probably just stick with that. You could probably get away with Calibri or whatever it's called. However, I do prefer Times New Roman. Font size 10 or greater. Do not go under 10. At that point, it just gets too small. Any questions? Next. So, sorry. So this is essentially the general template you want to go with. I'm going to go ahead and provide my resume at the end of the workshop. That way you guys could use it in order to kind of like, build your own resume if you need it. Name and information. So essentially your name and information should only consist of name, email, phone number. Do not include address. Do not include like city, state, that kind of stuff. Just essentially name, email, phone number, and that's it. If you want, you could go ahead and like include a portfolio link. Like in my case, if I wanted to, I could include my GitHub account. You don't want the full URL, so leave out the www dot part, just include github.com/, whatever your profile name is. Oh yeah, use a reputable email. So essentially use Gmail, do not use AOL, do not use Yahoo. I mean, not too many companies like that. Oh, I already mentioned that, but don't include personal address, city, or state. Any questions? No? If that's the case. Education section. So don't include your high school or community college transfer. Sorry, I kind of wrote this. Don't include your high school in your resume. So essentially just include the university that you graduated from. Unless you graduated from a former community college with an associate's or a certificate, at which point go ahead and include that. Otherwise, for you guys, so for the most part, it'll be Cal State LA. Do not include GPA unless you have a 3.5 or higher. If you don't have a 3.5 or higher, do not include your GPA. Otherwise, companies do not care. Whoops. Remember, it's Bachelor of Science, it's Master of Science. Do not include the apostrophe S. It's not bachelor's, it's just bachelor. So do not make that mistake. I like bolding my Bachelor of Science, and then I'm bolding my mechanical engineering. However, you guys could probably bold the entire thing. Me personally, I just like keeping it this way. For graduate students, for the date, do it as May 2025, for example, or May, in my case, May 2023. However, if you're still currently a student, which most of you guys are obviously, just put down expected May 2025. Don't include coursework unless you're very specialized. So like right now, many of you guys are seniors. If not, don't worry about it. However, for those who are, you guys are probably getting into your electives, such as, like for me personally, my electives was dynamics of mechanisms and intro to robotics. So if you guys want, you guys may include that. For me personally, I don't think I have to, so therefore I didn't. Don't include your school's location if your school has location in the name. So for us, we don't have to include Cal State, or we don't have to include this, Los Angeles, California. However, because I kind of include the formal name of the school, which is Cal State LA, City of Los Angeles, California, it's kind of there. However, I wouldn't put down California, Los Angeles, California on the side. That part I won't say, because it says it right here in the school's name. Don't include award scholarships unless they're extremely impressive, i.e. Rhodes Scholar or Fulbright Scholar. Again, if it's a very well-known scholarship, do not include it. If it is, then go ahead and include it. That's very great. D1 competitive schools, if you're in D1, which I don't think we are, but if you are, included. If not, then yeah. Skills. Oh, by the way, any questions so far? No? Skills. Again, the title is skills. It's not technical skills. It's not relevant skills, summary qualifications, etc. It's just skills. I kind of made that mistake. I did fix it. Right here, I kind of did fix it. So again, it's just skills, not technical skills. Order skills by relevancy to the job. For the most part, you guys are mostly mechanical engineers. So if you're mechanical engineers, include CAD at the top, and then your coding languages, for example, include at the bottom. If you're software, include this part at the top, so on and so forth. So anytime you either do skills, if you do experience or whatever, anything that's relevant to the job or is deemed impressive to your job, include at the top. I don't include soft skills, so nobody cares about that you're a great speaker. Nobody cares that you're a fast learner. For the most part, your employer will kind of figure that out. Don't include work productivity apps, such as Microsoft Office, Excel. Here's the thing. This bulletin point right here, this is a philosophy where I'm kind of 50-50 on. For the most part, I do agree with it. For the most part, it's kind of redundant to say that you're good at like listing skills. However, for me personally, a lot of job applications kind of do post must know Microsoft Excel, must know Microsoft Word. And so I have it on just to essentially go through that the ATS system, which is our automatic system when it comes to scanning resumes. So when it comes to you guys, I will probably say don't do it. However, if you do it, it wouldn't be bad just because of the whole ATS system. But the reason why you wouldn't want to do it is because an employer, when they're reading it, they'll see that as you're trying to fill up space. Like you don't have any other skills, so therefore you have to include Microsoft Office. But for the most part, I probably wouldn't include it. Don't rate your skills by proficiency. Oh yeah, that's right. So don't put down, oh sorry. So don't put down SolidWorks Intermediate, Siemens NX, Advanced. So don't do that. Just put down skills that you have. Punctuate correctly. Again, it's SolidWorks with a capitalized W. It's CATIA, all capitalized. AutoCAD with capitalized CAD. So make sure this part is right. What else? Same with reprinting, that kind of stuff. Experience. So number one, for your experience section, only include paid experience in your section. Right now, I included the title of president as ASME back when I did it. Keep in mind, when I'm applying for jobs, even though I'm still a mechanical engineer for Clear Blue Sea, I'm kind of considered a new grad and I'm kind of treating myself as such. So therefore, anything that I did in ASME or like project work from my undergrad, I'm including. Now for the paid experience part, you see how I included president of ASME. This is not an experience section. This is in my leadership section, which you could probably add. However, I wouldn't include this as experience. I'll just go ahead and title that as leadership. But the reason why I'm using this as an example is because it has a lot of good notes in which you probably would want to follow with your experiences, even more so than my actual experience. Just because for that company, I haven't really been working at it for that long. So when it comes to experience, you want to tailor your experience to your resume. I'm going to go ahead and cover how to tailor your resume or tailor your resume for each application. I'll go ahead and talk about that later on. I don't care. Or differentiate yourself. Do not be humble. So what I mean by this is quite literally brag on your resume. Your resume is where you really want to brag at. So how I quote unquote bragged on my resume is I said I successfully allocated $6,000 needed for basic hour projects. Another way that I bragged is I increased student presence by 50% within 3 months of leading the organizations. So these are some of the ways I use to brag. I essentially include numbers and values to show my employer or my future employer things saying, I got all this money and I got all this resources and people in order to complete XYZ. So with that being said, include numbers. So like I said, for me personally, I did, oh, sorry. Oh yeah. So for me personally, I included essentially like dollar values, like 6,000, 50%, whatever, it doesn't matter. For you guys, you may want to include like factor of safety. There, like I designed something with a factor of safety of 5.7, or I designed something with a tolerance of 0.001, which is a very tight tolerance. So things like that. Or I use like FEA, CAD, CFD, whatever. So basically just use industry words whenever you can. Projects. So, oops. So when it comes to projects, do not use the word projects in your title. So for example, right here, autonomous ground vehicle, this is the IGVC project. I wouldn't include, or I wouldn't say autonomous ground vehicle project. I'll just go ahead and list the title. So do not include like personal projects or academic projects. So with that, like what they mean by that is essentially do not use projects that you were forced to do in a classroom, or do not do personal projects that's kind of BSing on the side. So anything that you do in ASME, go ahead and use. Go ahead and use anything you can in ASME, or whether that be RoboSub or Eagle Rocktree, doesn't matter. But anything from any of your classes, for the most part, do not use. No roles. So for the most part, they don't care about roles. When they say roles, they mean do not include the roles like in your title. So do not include like mechanical engineer in autonomous ground vehicle project. They don't want that. Just go ahead and use autonomous ground vehicle project, and maybe in a bullet point, just a task with chassis CAD design. At that point, they'll probably like your employers will know kind of like what you did. Like if you don't have any projects, go ahead and join, like for example, ASME, RoboSub, SAE. Again, it's always great to join student clubs and organizations in order to boost your experience. And last but not least, include numbers. So include, for example, like factor of safety, include develop like technical drawings, include like, design something with tolerance of 0.005. It's not enough to show, or it's not enough to say I was able to design a chassis. Companies want to know what came out of that. So say instead I designed a chassis with a factor of safety of 2.3. And that's kind of what I did here. STAR method and XYZ method. So there are two main methodologies when it comes to describing your experiences or describing your projects. Again, that is STAR method and XYZ. So STAR method essentially stands for situation, task, action, results. It's very story-based and is designed to essentially create a conversation. It's easy to follow, allows for natural storytelling. The only cons is it makes it difficult to highlight all job descriptions. So if you have like an experience, for example where you did like many things. So for example, if you did like CAD, you did coding, you did electrical design, it'll be very difficult to list all that in the STAR method. Whereas the XYZ method essentially is designed for that, basically to highlight all achievements if you have multiple achievements. But the thing is, it's not as easy to build a conversation off of. So actually, that's perfect. Here's a STAR method. So the STAR method is essentially what I'm currently doing. And so here's my Clear Blue C. So again, this is my job starting. Sorry. So here's my experience for Clear Blue C. There's 4 bullet points. This is STAR, or sorry, this is S, this is task, this is actions, and this is results. So S stands for situation. So basically, what were you doing? So for me personally, designing an unmanned surface vehicle platform used for ocean cleanup and mapping. So that's the project I was a part of. That's essentially what I was doing. And what I was tasked with, performing initial analysis needed to define motor and propeller specifications. Action, so what did I do? I developed a model that allowed for approximating torque needed for USV prototype using known hydrodynamic principles. So basically, I said what I did was I did like the analysis. Resultant model being referenced during threshold selection process of the USV prototype. So basically, it resulted in my team being able to choose out the motor. So this is a STAR method, and what's good about that is essentially if I need to talk about this project or if I need to talk about my experience, it allows for really good storytelling. So again, situation, task, action, results. Sorry. XYZ. XYZ is a little bit different, where now STAR essentially like this bullet point will be the S, like situation, then this bullet point will be the task. The XYZ is essentially the entire singular line. So you'll have XYZ method, XYZ method, XYZ method. So this is the same like Clear Blue Sea. So this is the same company that I was working for. However, all of this is fake. So don't kind of like, worry about this part, like whether it's fake or true. Just worry about kind of like how this is built. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over this line. So perform failure risk analysis of robotic frame by developing FEA, blah, blah, blah. So the X, so basically XYZ stands for like accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. So what did I accomplish? What I accomplished is I performed failure risk analysis of robotic frame. That's what I accomplished. By measure Y, by developing FEA simulations, and by doing Z, ensuring all parameters are met. So essentially perform failure risk analysis of robotic frame by developing FEA simulations, ensuring all parameters are met. And I did that for this bullet point, I did it for that bullet point, as well as this one. So XYZ, I apologize. So XYZ is defined per bullet point. And it's designed to basically show off what you accomplished and how you accomplished it. Whereas the STAR method is essentially situation, task, action, results. Which one should you use? Honestly, it's up to you. Some companies, they really like the STAR method. So if you want to get into North recruitment, you probably might want to use the STAR method. However, if you worked in the company or if you have experience in a project or something where you did many different things, maybe you might want to do XYZ method. But whatever method you choose, you have to stick to it. You can't just do STAR method, XYZ, XYZ STAR method. You have to stick to one methodology. Does anybody have any questions about either STAR method or XYZ?
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Hector, go ahead, or was talking. Chat. Okay, go ahead and type it. For ASME work that I do is XYZ better. Sorry. Again, it doesn't matter. Like both are equally, I mean, both have their pros and cons. Again, I use STAR method just because it's better for storytelling. And when a company is looking at it, sorry, excuse me. So again, sorry, I use STAR method because when a company is looking at my experiences for the first time, it's very easy to tell what I did and what project I was doing. However, I would, like I said, I would only use XYZ method is like if I was part of an ASME project and I did like many different things. So for example, if you're building a robot, if you did mechanical design, if you did software design, if you did like electrical design, for example, go ahead and do XYZ. However, if you only have like one task, that being just chassis design, probably use the STAR method. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Um, so for me personally, like, well, Hector, if you want more insights, do you want to tell me like what kind of tasks were you part of or what kind of stuff were you doing? If not, then just stick to what I said. Essentially, if you were part of like one mechanical, like VP and CS blood. For the team leads, um, you're saying for the team lead part, I will probably put like VP as one section and then CS team lead as a different section. So those two things will be two different things, in my opinion. So at which point I will probably use the STAR method. I would include computer vision, AutoNav, and flight simulation. Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, then if you actually did computer vision, if you actually did AutoNav as well as flight simulation, probably do XYZ method. But again, if you're going to do XYZ method, you're going to have to do XYZ throughout your entire resume. It's not a good look to kind of like switch back and forth from STAR method, XYZ. So you're kind of going to have to stick to that. Good question. Anything else? Oh, no. Oh, STAR method, STAR. No, I said like, if you're including, I did computer vision, I did AutoNav, and I did flight simulation, do XYZ. Wait, okay, sorry. Then let's stick to STAR method. Okay, I see what you're saying. But yeah, whatever method you choose, just stick to that one. Good question. Catering resume to desired industry. So when you guys are building your resumes, even though you kind of like were part of whatever projects you were part of, you're kind of doing what you were doing, you can cater resume to your desired industry. So essentially, I have two resumes. One is for robotics and software. The other one is for mechanical design and mechanical work. So essentially, I have two resumes catering to two different industries. So the one that I'm showing you is catering towards mechanical design. However, I do have one more robotics based. I'm going to go ahead and show you the difference. These two are the same slides. They're not. I don't care about the slide. Cool. Okay, I'm going to show off two different resumes that I have. I use both. So this one, the one on the left is for robotics, and the one on the right is for basically just design engineering. So one way to cater to your industry is essentially kind of filtering out which projects and experiences that you had. So for robotics one, I essentially listing all the software engineering work that I did for this company. I included my software experience through my research. So I led a robotics project, which is the Mars rover project that you guys see in the lab. So I led that robotics team in order to complete XYZ. And last but not least, I included what I did on the Mars rover project, which is basically just autonav and robotic arm controls. The one for design engineering, again, for the Clear Blue Sea, I have only the mechanical work that I did, which included all the analysis. Oh yeah, also skills. For this one, the mechanical skills are at the top, and for this one, the software skills are at the top. What else? Oh, that's our design engineering, the ME-based work. And right here, I'm including IGVC, which is basically just ME-based work, which is just CAD, FEA analysis, so on and so forth. I still kept the software engineering stuff, and I kept it as resume filler because it is still experience that I did in the past, and therefore I'm going to keep it. However, I'm not having it here to dedicate it towards software stuff. I'm having it here just to basically showcase that I did multiple projects and multiple stuff. Same with the Mars rover project. I left it here to basically let my employers know that I was involved with multiple projects, one being the autonomous ground vehicle, and the next is the Mars rover projects. So that's the reason why I did what I did here. However, for the most part, I have one basically catered towards robotics and design engineering. You guys can do the same. What I'm trying to showcase is not to have two different resumes. Just take whatever resume that you have and cater it towards the industry that you guys want. So does anybody have any questions about this on how to cater your resume towards an industry? If not, then I'll go ahead and click next. Catering resume to desired job. So essentially, once you cater your resume towards the desired industry that you want to work for, whether that be aerospace, whether that be robotics, whether that be automotive, you might want to cater your resume for the job description, which is now getting even more specific. So it's done by, like, number one, biasing certain phrases written on job description on your own resume. So basically, whatever's on the job description, let's say must know CAD SolidWorks, you're going to want to definitely have that on your resume. And let's say FEA analysis, must be able to do FEA analysis. Again, you might want to have that on your resume. And next is to put in work such tasks completed in your previous experiences as one posted on job description. So let's say on the against something very similar. Again, if you if the job description is asking you to know, let's say analysis, again, you might want to showcase the work, analytical work that you guys did. So here's an example on how to do it. On the right is a job application or job description that's essentially pulled up from LinkedIn. And here's essentially me catering my resume to that job description. So here's autonomous ground vehicle project before. Here's autonomous ground vehicle project after. The top one is my original resume. So this is the one that I didn't touch. The one on the bottom is essentially after I done catering my resume to this job description. Notice how there's like much more things in common with my resume after I started catering it. So one thing, for example, is participate in design reviews and design failure and effect analysis using the MFA. And I basically said participate in chassis design review and design failure mode and effect analysis using the MFA. So I essentially switched this over to develop FAA simulations of static load. Again, the job description is asking whether you did failure mode and effect analysis. Again, all that is included in FAA analysis. So this is very similar to essentially what I did for my chassis design project, or my chassis design and automat or IGVC project. So rather than just leaving it like this, like formally, I went ahead and switched this over to essentially what is written on the job description. I did it same here for this line, generated 2D and 3D drawings, which is posted right here on the job description. And essentially, I switched this out for develop 5 different 3D design assembly iterations. Again, this is the same exact work and I did the same exact thing. The only difference is I basically written it differently to essentially better match the job posting. So with that being said, when a recruiter is looking at your resume, they'll see more of the keywords and more of the stuff that you did related towards the job description. Therefore, you're more likely to get interviewed. Does anybody have any questions? If not, then I'll go ahead and click next. Resources. So right now, essentially, I'm trying to give you guys resources on how to build a better resume. One is to essentially go to your Cal State LA career office. That's essentially their job in order to help you find a career. And one thing that they do is essentially go over your resume. Professors, if you have any professors that you're close with, reach out for help. Network to professionals. So if you're able to successfully network with like other professionals who are inside the field, they could probably tell you how to write a better resume or probably critique your resume in order to change what needs to be changed. And last but not least, if you want to use resume writing services, I've never done this myself. So if you are going to do this, do some research. But there are services in which you pay and they essentially help you write a professional resume. Another resource is the Reddit page, Reddit r/engineering resumes. Here's the thing. I would normally not recommend Reddit pages as a source of like professional help. However, this Reddit, oh, sorry. Any second now. So, but however, this Reddit page essentially, so they have a really good wiki regarding on how to write a resume. And here's the thing, I use this wiki all the time. I know like actual professional engineers who uses this Reddit page all the time. Matter of fact, the person who recommended this to me is an actual engineer for a big company. So again, they have a wiki which basically has all the rules on how to write a resume, even more so than what I have here on this presentation. On top of that, people use that resume to get, or sorry, people use this Reddit page to get their resume critiqued. So again, a lot of people use it to get critiqued, and a lot of times people do give helpful advice. You might even be able to compare your resume with others who gone to desired company. So a lot of times I see people post, for example, saying, hey, I gone to Boeing, and this is the resume that helped me go to Boeing. And if you want, you can compare your resume with their resume and see what they did and implement it on your own resume. But here's the thing. Again, this is Reddit. This is the internet. It's like a lot of the stuff that people post may not be verifiable. So kind of take this advice with a grain of salt. Next. Resume. So resume advice. Here's an example where somebody essentially asked on how help me find a new job, or sorry, help me to critique my resume. And here's people basically critiquing their resume, giving helpful advice. One guy said, use the STAR method or Google XYZ method. You're specifically missing the hows and the results. So what this guy did is he put a whole bunch of bullet points. It's not really following any sort of method. And therefore, this guy is basically saying, hey, Google on how to write a better XYZ method or STAR method. Next is someone says the length of your dashes are inconsistent. I believe he was talking about these dashes. I couldn't see it, but again, probably if you zoom in, you'll probably be able to tell. So essentially, what you could do is like put your own resume on the internet and people will critique it for you. Again, take it with a grain of salt. However, for the most part, I do see helpful advice. The only suggestion I would do is like leave out your name, leave out your address, leave out everything, like all the personal information, and just include the general template. Comparing your, whoops. Comparing your own resume. So here's a guy basically posting, hey, I was able to get 10 to 15 interviews with this resume. So what you could do is you could compare your resume with his resume and see what he's doing right. And again, emulate it. Networking. So that's basically how to write a resume. Does anybody have any questions? Again, a lot of rules and stuff, if you want, I did pull from my own. A lot of it was from the actual Reddit page. Again, the Reddit page is a group of professionals who essentially writes down, professional wisdom how to write a resume. A lot of times these rules are pretty static across the board. But yeah, does anybody have any questions? If not, then I'll go ahead and talk about networking. Okay. So for network, so once you write out a flushed resume, the next thing you probably want to do is network. Obviously, one way of networking is networking through GMIS, which is what I'll go over, or like any other conferences, doesn't matter. However, I'm going to go ahead and kind of specify towards LinkedIn. If you do not have a LinkedIn account, please make a LinkedIn account. To be honest, a lot of times I got interviews just by networking on LinkedIn. So when it comes to networking on LinkedIn, some things you can do is connect with a recruiter or talent after applying. So let's say if you apply for a job, a lot of good ways is essentially to connect with the hiring managers who work for that company. And basically, I'm going to kind of go over this to essentially ask them about the position, whether they think that you're fit enough for the position, so on and so forth. A lot of times I'll keep them on your radar, or I'll keep you on their radar, which will benefit you in a interview. Next is connect with people in the industry. That may include alumni, person desired companies, so on and so forth. Do this with a grain of salt. Go ahead and do it with alumni, but just a random person, that may not be the most professional thing to do. Next is use talent agencies such as Aerotech, Actalent, etc. So me personally, I have connected with recruiters from like Actalent, and honestly, they were willing to help me out. And matter of fact, a lot of times I got in pretty good connection with them. So connect online with recruiters after meeting them in person, conferences, and expos. This is how I got my interview for General Dynamics. I went to a conference and I met a representative from General Dynamics. We connected on LinkedIn and now have an interview with them next week. Here's the thing, networking is a relationship. So give and take. Do not take networking as these people could give me a job or these people could give me interviews. Look into it as these people could help me out and therefore I should be able to help them out. Reaching out to a talent after applying, again, I kind of already went over this. Again, so what you're going to want to do, like after you apply for whatever job you want to, go on LinkedIn and go look for people who actually work in that company, either as talent acquisition, either as recruiters or hiring managers, and request to connect with them with essentially a small note. And I'm going to go over that in a second. So here's kind of how to do it. Again, once you apply for desired job, go on LinkedIn and on the top, look for company. In my case, let's say Lockheed Martin. So search for Lockheed Martin, click people. And once you click people, a list of people should show up, like anybody who works for that company. And that includes engineers, that includes talent acquisitions, includes finance, doesn't matter. Afterwards, you're going to want to filter. So click on filters, scroll all the way to the bottom to keywords and write down talent. Then once you write down talent, show results, and therefore it should filter the search of the people in that company. Excuse me. Doesn't want to switch there. Next is to find somebody who's a recruiter or a talent acquisition of that company. In this case, for example, Maddie Jones Norris, who works for Lockheed Martin. And what you're going to want to do is connect with her. But when you connect with her, there's an option on basically adding a note. So what you're going to want to do is essentially just add a short note. For example, here's an example. Hi, Tracy, I hope you're doing well. I want to introduce myself. I'm applying for blah, blah, blah. And I want to go gather your backgrounds on my background. If you're open to speak further, I'm available anytime. Thank you for your time. Best regards, my name. This is a short message letting the recruiter know that I'm interested in that position or interested in that company. And again, a lot of times they will keep you in your mind. And a lot of times they'll give you the heads up for a interview. This is not an actual message that I used to connect with Maddie. Honestly, I didn't attempt to connect with this person in my life. However, this is a pretty good example on how I would do it. And a lot of times I did get in contact with the person. Here's some examples of me essentially connecting with people from like professionals in a company. This is a bad example of me doing it. Here's me writing a huge lengthy message. Matter of fact, this isn't even the full message. It's only a small screenshot. However, I was able to connect with the professional and they were able to provide me a recruiter link, which essentially if I wanted to apply for a job for that company, they will consider me. So a lot of times, like just connecting with somebody in a company is a pretty good thing to do. Here's me connecting with a recruiter. So I essentially use LinkedIn to find recruiters, and I found a recruiter from Actalent. And basically, her and I were talking, and we were able to set an appointment to meet up at this time, 1:30 p.m. And now she's kind of working with me and essentially hopes to get a job. So again, you could recruit with like random recruiters who work for like different agencies. You could connect with recruiters who work in companies that you want to work for. And you could work in professionals, doesn't matter, who work in like different types of companies in this field. So networking is a really good way to give you the heads up or the edge up when it comes to looking for a job. And again, networking is a two-way street. So while they try to help you out, you must try to help them out. Reaching out to professionals after an event. So again, you'll be going to events like GMIS and other conferences. That's a great way to essentially connect with professionals. Do not ignore like the career fairs such as Cal State LA career fairs or any other career fairs in your area. Oh yeah, and after you speak with the person, after you get into a relationship with that person, a request to connect over LinkedIn either during the expo or after the expo. It's better to do it during the expo. However, if it doesn't happen, just do it when you get home. Here's an example of me like going to a national conference or a career fair, meeting a person in a company, and essentially that led me to an interview again. So I went to a career fair down here in San Diego and we met up, and then essentially we connected on LinkedIn. After we connected on LinkedIn, she asked me to apply for the job which I applied for, and later on I was able to get a interview. So connecting is a very good way of planning interviews, so on and so forth. Oh, sorry. So again, that's one really good way of connecting, and that's probably what you'll be doing at GMIS, for example. And here's all the references that I essentially used for this presentation. All right, this is it regarding on how to write a resume. Does anybody have any questions? I kind of probably went over a little bit quickly, which I apologize for. However, if there's any questions, just let me know. If not, then this is it for the interview. This is it for the presentation.